The RMS Titanic, a name everyone knows for its fanciness and its sad ending. On a freezing cold night in April 1912, this giant ship sank in the North Atlantic. The whole world was shocked, and the Titanic became a story everyone remembers. Even more than 100 years later, people are still fascinated by the Titanic. The official story says it was too much pride and hitting an iceberg, but some people whisper, is there something more to it? Lots of conspiracy theories, some silly, some interesting, have come up about the Titanic sinking. Let's explore these theories and see what secrets might be hidden. One famous theory is the switch theory. This theory has intrigued historians and conspiracy theorists alike for decades. This theory says the ship that sank wasn't the Titanic, but its twin sister, the Olympic. The two ships were nearly identical, making the switch plausible to some. The Olympic had gotten damaged earlier, and the theory says it was too expensive to fix. The damage was significant enough to warrant a costly repair, which the White Star Line might have wanted to avoid, so they supposedly swapped it with the Titanic and sank it on purpose for the insurance money. The idea was that the insurance payout would cover the losses and more. People who believe this theory have some points. They argue that the financial strain on the White Star Line could have driven them to such desperate measures. The Olympic did bump into a British warship, the HMS Hawke, a few months before the Titanic's first trip. This collision caused significant damage to the Olympic, adding fuel to the switch theory. Also, the Titanic and Olympic looked almost the same, so maybe, just maybe, they could be swapped. The similarities in design and structure were so close that even experienced sailors might not notice the difference. People who saw the ship said it looked different, which makes people wonder more. Eyewitness accounts from the time mention subtle differences that have kept the theory alive. But swapping ships like that would be super complicated, needing loads of people working secretly. The logistics of such an operation would be immense, requiring the cooperation of many workers and officials. It's hard to believe so many people could keep quiet. The sheer number of people involved would make it nearly impossible to keep such a massive secret. Also, the White Star Line was a big company. They wouldn't want to ruin their name. The potential damage to their reputation and future business would be a significant deterrent. Despite the intriguing points, most historians agree that the switch theory is unlikely. The evidence supporting the theory is circumstantial at best, and the risks involved would have been enormous. Today, the Titanic remains a subject of fascination and mystery. Whether or not the switch theory holds any truth, it adds another layer to the enduring legend of the Titanic. Another theory talks about powerful people and secret plans. This theory dives deep into the world of finance and power, suggesting that some of the wealthiest men of the early 20th century were involved in a grand scheme. This one is about John Pierpont Morgan, a rich American who controlled the company that owned the White Star Line. Morgan was not just any businessman, he was a titan of industry, wielding immense influence over the financial world. The theory says Morgan planned the sinking to get rid of his rivals, John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. These men were not just wealthy, they were also influential figures who had the power to oppose Morgan's plans. These men were super rich and powerful, and they didn't want the Federal Reserve, a banking system Morgan wanted. The Federal Reserve was a controversial idea at the time, and its creation would centralize financial power in a way that some of these men found threatening. So, the theory says Morgan sank the Titanic knowing they were on board. The Titanic, being one of the most luxurious ships of its time, was the perfect setting for such a dramatic and tragic event. Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic, but cancelled last minute, saying he was sick, which makes people suspicious. His sudden change of plans has fueled speculation and added an air of mystery to the entire incident. The theory also says sinking the Titanic made it easier to start the Federal Reserve a year later. With his rivals out of the way, Morgan could push forward with his vision for a centralized banking system. It's an interesting theory, but there's no real proof that Morgan did it. While the idea is captivating, it remains in the realm of speculation and conspiracy. Also, some historians say Guggenheim bought his ticket at the last minute. which complicates the theory. If Morgan had planned the sinking, he would have needed precise knowledge of who would be on board. Morgan cancelled, which doesn't fit the theory. His cancellation could have been a coincidence, but it adds a layer of intrigue to the story. Morgan was powerful, yes, but saying he caused such a big disaster needs strong proof. Without concrete evidence, the theory remains an interesting but unproven story from history. The Rothschilds, a super-rich European family, have been famous for centuries. Known for their immense wealth and influence, they have been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories over the years. One such theory suggests that they orchestrated the sinking of the Titanic. The idea is that they wanted to eliminate their rivals and further consolidate their financial power. This theory often intertwines with another, which claims that the Rothschilds were instrumental in the creation of the Federal Reserve. The suggestion is that they used the Titanic disaster as a smokescreen to push their financial agenda. Recently, the Titan submarine, which was exploring the Titanic wreckage, tragically imploded, resulting in the loss of 5 lives. This incident has reignited old conspiracy theories. Some conspiracy theorists argue that the implosion was not an accident. They believe it was a deliberate act to prevent people from uncovering the truth about the Titanic and its supposed connection to the Rothschilds. However, despite the intriguing narratives, there is no concrete evidence to support the Rothschild conspiracy. Historians and experts have repeatedly debunked these claims. The theories are largely based on speculation and the Rothschilds' long-standing reputation for being wealthy and influential. While it's true that the Rothschilds were powerful, there is no verifiable proof linking them to the Titanic sinking or the recent Titan tragedy. The stories remain just that, stories. Most people believe the Titanic sank because it hit an iceberg, damaging the hull badly. That's what the official reports say, and people who saw it happen agree. But even this simple explanation has some questions. Some researchers think it might have hit something else, something harder to explain. One theory says it hit a blackberg, a dark, almost invisible iceberg, hard to see on a dark night. Another theory says it hit a growler, a small piece of ice broken off a bigger iceberg. These theories are interesting, but there's not much proof. Most people who saw it said it was a big iceberg, and the damage to the ship looks like it hit something huge. The Titanic carried more than just people. It had lots of cargo going to New York, some normal, some mysterious. There were clothes, furniture, food, a Renault car, fancy wines, and even a chest of dragon's blood, a rare resin. Besides the cargo, there are other mysteries. Why weren't there enough lifeboats? Why did the crew ignore iceberg warnings? Why didn't a nearby ship, the Californian, help sooner? We might never know for sure, but thinking about these mysteries helps us understand the Titanic story better. The Titanic sinking reminds us how powerful nature is and how fragile life is. It's a sad story that still touches us today. But the Titanic is more than just a sunken ship. It's a symbol of human dreams, cleverness, and also weakness. The many conspiracy theories show how much this event still affects us. We want to understand the tragedy, to find answers beyond the official story. Some theories might sound crazy, but they make us question what we think we know. The Titanic is gone, but its story stays with us. The mysteries might never be fully solved, and that's part of what makes the Titanic story so interesting.